Yeah, how's you were studying last time, right?
I still am.
You still are.
Yeah. I'm
University?
University in September, hopefully.
September.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
you're in college at the moment.
Well,
Sixth form?
I'm on summer break.
Okay,
That's why I'm
wicked.
here. I wouldn't have time otherwise.
Okay, wicked. What are you, if you don't mind me asking, what are you going to be studying at uni?
I'm going to be doing natural sciences.
Natural sciences. What does that pertain? Is that more biological or?
Oh, fine. Sorry. Yeah, I think I'm going to be going down the biological area, but we'll see still. That's why I chose natural sciences.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. So last time we were talking about God and we were talking about the...
Sorry, can my friend here join?
Yeah, of course.
Can my friend here join?
Yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Okay.
How are you guys? You're right, yeah?
How are you?
Are you right?
I'm good.
So yeah, I don't know if you remember, we had a conversation last
Time
time.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw you guys and I thought it'd be good to have a follow-up. Then in that discussion, I think, I don't recall what you said when he asked, do you believe in God? So where are you with that kind of?
I think, I'll be honest, I think I'm still kind of the same place. As in, I don't think I believe in God, but I don't think I don't believe in God either. I'm kind of just figuring it out. But I feel like I've thought a lot more about why I choose what I choose. I can't say that my reasons are more right, but I think I've thought through it more.
Let me know. Let me know what's changed.
So after our conversation with you last time, we actually met this other very wise Muslim man. Yeah, very wise.
So wise.
He was very wise. He was very wise.
Was that a bus?
No, it's a friend's family. My friend's family.
He was very wise.
Okay.
But anyway, after that,
Wise in terms of?
in general,
Yeah, in general, he has crazy knowledge.
like
Yeah?
He's super wise.
he was just wise. Just gotta trust me on this, man. He's just wise. But what I was gonna say is, I think before this, I was more trying to discover logical evidence for this problem about religion, as in like, what do I think is more logical? Which one makes more sense? And after that, I kind of realized there was this theory, there was this idea that wise man gave us that we also kind of adopted. And that idea is how a person makes decisions. And to put in the old wise man's words, he said, you always have presets or preconditions, and you have a leap of faith, which means you make there's certain evidences, there's certain logical thoughts, and after that you have to make an emotional decision. I'll make a very small example, if you don't mind. Suppose, for example, I decide to come here today to have fun with friends and to just gain more knowledge, right? The logical evidence of that is because I have friends, they are hopefully real and here, and this place is a place with lots of clever people, right? And the emotional decision is simply, I think it's worth my time to come here instead of, I don't know, playing Minecraft today or something, or doing something else. And that's made me realize that every single time you make a decision, at least in my opinion, there's a logical aspect and there's an emotional aspect. There's both. Well, in that case, it made me think, if I'm making a decision, and every single time I make a decision, be it any decision, there's going to be a logical aspect and an emotional aspect, and they're both necessary, then I think they're equally as important. So I feel like logical reasons are equally as important towards making a decision, especially a large one like religion, as emotional arguments. And that made me realize, if I'm being honest, it's probably because of my upbringing, my morals and my emotional reasons, it doesn't really align with Islam. At least, Islam is only an example, to be fair. I mean, religion in general, because I talk to him a lot about this, and he's Muslim, so it's mostly just argument between Islam or not Islam. So Islam is more of an example here. So yeah, and I think that's just another reason why I think I don't believe particularly now. And that's what's changed, I feel like.
So you're saying it's more the emotional aspect of Islam, but belief in God, that's something that's claimed by a lot of other religions. Are there some other religions that do believe in God whom you do gravitate towards?
Not really, not particularly. I mean, if I'm being honest, I only knew Islam quite well because I talked to him. That's the reason why I'm here in the first place. So don't really know
So
that
is it
well.
between Islam and not Islam, right? Or between Islam and atheism?
I wouldn't say that's my personal dilemma, but I think that's more of the arguments between me and my friend. That's more of a situation. Yeah.
I want to know about yours. Where are you at the moment?
Where am I at the moment? I'm not so sure. I mean, I was invited here to Kind of, yeah, kind of. I haven't thought about this for a very long time, if I'm being honest. I mean,
So you did. I thought that was the point.
Time has passed, but we just, like,
that was
got
because I
you.
had A levels. I kind of had to, because Asian parents and everything.
No, I
So I
got you.
had to do that.
Say
and,
no more.
He's been doing the research, and he invited me today. And I thought, why not?
Do you believe that there is an explanation to the design that we see around us? Or do you believe it comes from chance? Or do you believe it comes from nothing?
Do you mean explanation, as in, can I explain it? Because if it comes from nothing, I can still explain it. You see? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
so when we're talking about the design that we see around us, and we try to get to the bottom of it, like where did it come from? Yeah, what's the cause of that design? And then we come up with a few options. Either it came from chance, either it came from nothing, or it came from something. Where do you hang your hat?
Right now,
Yeah.
don't really know. Let me just think. I think I don't really know, but it's been a long time. Let me just think.
No problem. We can explore them one by one.
Yeah, of course.
What do you think the sensibility of it coming from nothing is? Do you think it makes sense, or do you think it doesn't logically make sense that everything, all the design that we see around us came from nothing?
I think in a logical way, to discuss where everything came from is such a different thing than what we do everyday life. It's for like discussing God. If I were to discuss how does God feel today, that's kind of an absurd discussion.
I'm
As in-
talking about the universe,
Yeah,
right? And
I
design,
agree. But I'm saying it's because it's such a distant thing. Because God is so much beyond me. If God exists and He's all powerful, He's so much beyond me. It's not. I feel
We'll
like
come
it's
to
so
that
different.
though. But if we take one step at a time,
Okay.
the first step I'd say is inference, yeah? That we look around us. For example, a lot of things that we do in our daily life, we don't need to see that thing in actuality to believe it to be true. For example, forensic scientists, they don't have to see the crime taking place for them to infer what happened. They use the inference to the best explanation, or the blanket term abduction, which is an offshoot of science, to come to a conclusion that this is the inference to the best explanation.
That's
So if we use design, inference, that's what we're saying. At the moment, we're just piecing things together,
Okay.
like somebody that's come to a scene, like a forensic scientist comes to a crime scene. Let's just say we're here. Okay, let's look around. Let's take some samples. That's what we're doing at this moment in time. Yeah, so we're looking at the design that's around us.
Okay.
We're saying, what is the inference to the best explanation? Okay, let's look at the options that are there. Nothing, chance, or something. That tends to be the options. If you have something else, you can tell me, but that's what it is typically
Sorry if
speaking.
I'm not sure if this answers the question exactly, but I'm going to try.
Go ahead.
Me personally, I believe in the Big Bang because I've done A-level physics and it was drilled into my brain to get grades, right? So and there was quite a bit of evidence on that. I thought it sounded legit. Maybe there's logical reasons and emotional reasons. So definitely both.
Let me just,
But before that, no, sorry. I mean, I don't mean before you asked. I mean before the Big Bang, I don't really know.
but you believe the Big Bang came from something though, right?
I think from the evidence, from what I've learned in A-level physics at least, I think it came from a super dense, super hot point. Yes.
Right, so there was something before. So that something before, did that come from nothing, by chance, or from something?
I don't know.
Okay, good. So that's now where we can be the forensic scientist. How sensible is it for you to conclude that it came from nothing?
Not very sensible.
Not very sensible. How sensible do you agree that it comes by chance?
Not very sensible either.
Not very sensible. How sensible is it for you to infer that an effect, i.e. the Big Bang in the universe, has a cause?
Not very sensible either, if I'm being honest.
Can you give me one example of anything in our experience that's an effect that has no cause?
I can't, no.
So according to the principle of sufficient reason, for us to do science, for us to do philosophy, for us to do logic, we have to accept every effect has a cause. If we abandon that principle, we're blind. We can't take anything seriously.
That's true.
So we have to accept this principle axiomatically. Every effect has a cause. So again, if I ask you that same thing, how sensible is it for you to conclude that the universe as an effect has a cause.
I just want to say two things. Sorry,
course.
I think I just.
You don't have to
defaulted.
apologize, just
I know.
jump in.
I just defaulted there. The problem is when you said it is true that if we were to have a discussion about this regarding, and which we are, I just want to clarify, we have to accept certain logical principles, and that I fully agree with. Because without logic, if I just say I feel it's a certain way, it's a pointless discussion. But I'm just saying to make a decision, I first want to point out that I disagree that only doing that, as I said, which is why I think I've learned in the past year. Secondly, regarding
What was that last point that you said?
sorry, it's just
To make a decision?
To make a decision, I don't think I can only use logical arguments.
I agree with you, absolutely.
I think that's where the differentiation comes from. I think you're giving out logical arguments where he just says, even if Islam has like the most evidence, I think what he's saying is he can just have a emotional part to it, which then whatever, as much evidence you give, he can just be like, I don't think that's true, just because he feels like it.
Absolutely,
That's his whole
absolutely. But the point there would be that if he says, I don't believe it to be true, is it not logically true or is it not emotionally true?
I think
Now here's the thing, when I asked him the nub of the issue, he didn't go to the emotional side, he went to Big Bang, right? So that's what he predicated on. That's why I was then, I continued the chain of kind of talk on Big Bang. If he then says, I don't feel it to be true, then our conversation will naturally take a different course. It depends on what answers he'll give me. So if he sticks on the rational, if he sticks on the scientific, that's where we'll go. If he then veers it towards the emotional side, then we'll definitely go there.
we talked about the logical one a lot, no?
We did.
I'm curious about the emotional one.
I'm down to talk about, but I'm just saying, I think I'm talking about a logical. Actually, I'm a little confused here because in my experience, you can only have a conversation with someone, at least like an argument with determination of truth, logically. Because, for example, if we say which is better, McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken, for example, if we compare the calories and the price, we can do that. That we can do, object logically. But if we simply say you like McDonald's more, I like Kentucky Fried Chicken more, we can't really have a discussion.
Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Do you believe the truth is subjective or objective?
I think the truth
Absolute truth.
I think the truth is objective.
There you go. So emotionally, if you want to accept something or reject something, that's your prerogative. Yeah, and that's something that's a responsibility that you have to deal with in life, that you've taken an emotional as opposed to a rational point of view. But it is definitely important for you to realize that there is the rational point has its part to play. It is definitely important. But if I give you the rational side and you want to ignore all of it, why? Because you just don't feel like it, then we can deal with that aspect. So let's just put the logical aspect on ice for a second. Maybe elaborate more on what you mean by the emotional side of things so I understand a bit more.
Okay. That's fair. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I didn't expect it to go this way. I thought I thought you can't really talk about this, but I guess now here we are. That's fair. Okay, I'll give a very simple example, and I'll say.
Don't feel rushed, by the way. I'm not going to rush you, yeah?
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'm a slow cooker. Sorry, that came out wrong. I didn't mean it like that.
That's fair. Well, I've said it before, and I mean no offense. I just want to clarify that because people do have different values. We're in London, but I've said that I don't think my moral values align with lots of the Islamic moral values. I'll give a very distinct example. Me and my friend haven't dwelt on this very long because we most look at the logical stuff.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Islam, I think, correct me if I'm wrong again, I think a man is allowed to have multiple wives.
Yeah.
And a woman is allowed to have can't have multiple husbands. I'm not saying that proves Islam wrong or anything. I'm just saying, I personally, doesn't make much sense to me. I feel like, personally, it just doesn't. And I think we had this conversation, but I think
I don't think I went to the emotional part.
I think we just said, but then if God did write the book, why are you arguing? Which is fair enough. If God did write the book, I wouldn't be arguing. But I don't align with that. It's just a very small example.
So you said you've never been to the emotional side, yeah?
Yeah, no, I don't.
He doesn't do that. He doesn't feel things.
But bear in mind, it's not just the point to you, but to the viewers as well. Whoever has the issue, they're the ones who, to some degree, have to set the prerogative, and you have to go on their guidelines to some degree.
Well, I don't have the knowledge, that's why you see.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Okay, so are you living in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree with the law? Would you say you love the UK?
I think it's a nice place. I quite like it. I wouldn't say love. It's a very strong word, but I think I quite like the place. Yes.
You like the place, yeah, and you're comfortable in this place. You respect the place.
I do.
You respect the people as well.
Yes, definitely.
If a law comes, you would follow the law.
I'll try my best to.
You try your best to. But on the face of it, yes, right? But if I was to tell you some of the laws that are propounded by the UK, yeah, immoral laws, laws that you would definitely agree are immoral, are wrong according to your worldview, how would that inform your view of the UK? Would you suddenly start disbelieving in the UK, pretending it doesn't exist, rejecting the laws, wanting to move away? Like, how would that inform your way of thinking?
Well, I think first it always depends upon how large of a difference there is, right? For example, I don't know, if suddenly the UK sent a law that says, I don't know, let's kill all the Chinese people. I wouldn't be very happy because I'm Chinese. I would be dead. But on the other side, even if it isn't something like that extreme, even if something like, now we can't eat ice cream, I probably wouldn't mind that much, but I would imagine...
Let's deal with the laws that are already here, because that's speaking hypothetically. I'll give you laws that have been passed very recently. For example, even if you're, say, about a month before your due date, yeah, say 8 months, you can abort your child. Now, I think everybody, when ultrasounds are done, you look inside the mum's stomach, you can see that's a baby, right? 2 hands, a brain, cognitive function, legs, all of that sort of stuff is fully developed. Agreed?
Okay, that's true.
So if somebody now comes along and says, if you don't want the baby, and there's no real reason, you just want to abort it because of my body, my choice, that's wrong, right? You're killing a child because of a whimsical desire.
I would rather use another, because I'll be honest, I haven't really made up my views on abortion yet. I haven't really thought much about it.
I rather he doesn't go to political side.
Can we use another
Say
example?
that again?
I rather we don't go to the political
I just rather we use another
views on it.
Because I haven't really thought about
Okay, got you. So the examples that I would have to give, you don't have to respond to them. They are political. For example, abortion, euthanasia. So euthanasia is when you're, so stuff like that. It's what the government has sanctioned. And because the government is the authority here, I have to use that as an example.
That's fair.
But you don't have to respond to that.
I have to interrupt you on one
Yeah,
thing.
no,
I
go
think you may have misunderstood this. I'm not British myself. I'm Chinese.
Yeah.
And I like UK as a place. I like the culture. I like the people. I think it's very diverse. But I don't really care about the government.
Let me jump in here. So what I'm saying is that if you disagreed with fundamental laws of Britain, you wouldn't reject the government, like just what happened now. Regardless of what you're thinking, is you're very cautious about on camera, because obviously there's a future, yeah? You're playing your pieces and you want a future over here. And I get that, yeah? But what I'm saying is, just like certain laws that you disagree with means you're not going to reject the government completely, you're going to be very careful. Similarly with Islam, if there are certain laws that you don't accept or understand about Islam because of the way you've been brought up, because of your household, because of your country or whatnot, because that's what it is, then surely that's not a good enough reason to reject the faith.
Definitely not.
Fantastic.
But, however, it would definitely make me think less of the UK government. It would.
But you wouldn't reject it though, right?
But if there's enough of such things, I would probably reject it. If the UK made out a really stupid law, like killing all the Chinese, I'll probably, if I was a UK citizen, I'll probably stop being a UK citizen, move somewhere else.
Right. So which such law do you think equates with, say, the British saying kill all Chinese people in Islam?
So
let's go with the highest.
Yeah, I'll think about it. Sorry, I've genuinely never thought about it, so it just...
I'm not rushing you, brother.
Okay. I feel like the most largest thing that I've discussed this logically, is the fact that if there's a human being, and suppose a human being does well, he goes to heaven. If he doesn't do well, he goes to hell. Or they go to heaven or hell. Now, obviously, again, I don't think this is very fair treatment, because it feels like eternal punishment for a limited amount of sentence. Maybe it's because I've been brought up in a way in a society where prison exists and prisons only have limited sentence. this and that, this and that. Again, I just want to restate.
Very good.
In case people
I like your
misunderstand,
thinking.
that I don't think this means that Islam is not true, logically objective facts. It's just that I emotionally.
There's flashing light coming. Relax, brother, relax. Take it easy. Yeah? This is like continuous.
I personally feel less aligned towards Islam.
It's like he's getting the top of my nostril.
We're getting the eyes.
He's very tall. He's using it to his advantage.
Also, you're messing with the cameras, man. It's making it funny.
But yeah,
Still going.
I know.
Is it you? Is he taking a picture of you?
I don't know. I'm a handsome man.
It's confusing. We just wait for you to finish.
Like, thumbs up? I don't know.
You finish, yeah? You interrupt in the conversation.
Strange individuals.
I'm still
I think he's just trolling now.
Come on, man. That was one of your guys. Oh, if you stop and that means you interrupt in the
It's
conversation.
just disrespectful.
Carry on. Carry on.
I can't carry on
Carry on.
if I'm constantly getting flashed in the eye.
Go away. Yeah, because you're interrupting. Go away. You understand English?
Strange guy.
Understand English? Go away.
Go ahead. Now I know where he is morally
I know.
Anyway,
and emotionally.
as I've said, that's I think one of the things that don't align with Islam. I think for most, I guess, Abrahamic religions about heaven
Okay,
and
you
hell.
mentioned two things. Let me respond to those two things, yeah?
Okay, I mentioned two things.
Yeah, so the first thing was the multiple wives,
Okay.
and the second thing was eternal damnation,
Yeah, or heaven, I guess.
eternal heaven. Okay, so which one do you want me to answer first? What's priority?
I would prefer the heaven and hell one. I think that's one's a lot more.
Okay, now what if I told you that God, the creator of everything, sees the past, present, future the same? Yeah?
That makes sense.
Yeah, he's not restricted by time and space, right? So God knows that if that person was to continue living, then that person would continue disbelieving for eternity. That's point number one. Point number two is that you only get to go to hellfire if, number one, the truth has come to you unadulterated, that it makes sense to you. According to your worldview or whatever it is, it makes sense to you. You have consciously, willingly rejected it. Then that's when you go to the hellfire. If somebody doesn't know the truth, has not been privy to the truth, then that person will not be going to the hellfire.
Okay, I know that to be fair.
Make sense?
Good to establish.
Does that make emotional sense to you? Because again, this is subjective to you.
It does. That does. I mean, I know it's logically, I know it's emotionally too.
In other words, let me give you another example that might make sense to you. If a person is in prison and they're a murderer or a child abuser, the only way they'll be released from prison is if they prove that they will not continue offending, according to the sensible laws. Otherwise, some countries, if you're about to be released and you tell them, I'm going to carry on killing, what do you think is going to happen?
You know, let them release.
Exactly. So even according to the laws, if let's just say we had a lifespan of 900 years, and if each time, every 50 years, that person was asked, are you going to carry on killing? The person goes, hell yeah, I love it. Yeah. Maybe he's a Dexter type, yeah? So Dexter loves killing. So he's, hypothetically speaking, if you extrapolate that, he's gonna spend his lifetime in
Prison.
Why? Because
Just
he's
wants
a
to
repeat offender.
That's true.
So even emotionally, it would make sense if we switch from finite life to infinite life. It would happen, and our laws would adapt according to that. Prisons would become infinite sentences as well.
True.
Because life is infinite. I don't know if you understand, there's a death penalty in Japan. Yeah? Just I think about a month ago, somebody got sentenced. What the Japanese do that's very interesting is they have this concept of infinite as well, which is that they put somebody in prison, yeah, who's now going to be in, they're on death row, they're going to die now. However, they do not tell them when they're going to die.
What difference does it make?
It's torture. You could be dying in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years. You have no idea. I don't know if you've seen that movie Old Boy. Yeah? So they use a similar kind of concept to this, and he mentioned one line, which is that if you were told that you're going to be in prison for 10 years, as opposed to not being told, would that somehow make it more bearable? It's a philosophical question.
Yes, it does make it more bearable.
Which is debatable.
I have personal experience.
Do you see?
It is torture, yes.
Of course. So a person goes, it's the reason why Uber does so well, as opposed to other cabbies. Because when you call another cabbie, they'll tell you, yes, we're coming. But if they take a wrong turn, it infuriates you. Uber, you know the driver takes a wrong turn. You know he's now off by 5 minutes. I can take a whiz. I can, kiss my little daughter. And, I can come to the door with my bags. Yeah? So knowing something makes it more bearable. So it's the same. Yeah, it's that same sort of concept that it is used by torture by some governments even till today as well. This notion of the infinite player is a philosophical concept as well. The finite player and the infinite player as well. So it's a similar kind of concept that had the infinite, had the finite got taken away, our punishments would also be infinite as well.
Sorry, I'm just...
Yeah, jump in.
First thing I want to say, I'm just really grateful you're able to talk to me about this today, because I know it's a very emotional thing, so there's not much of an argument, you know what I mean? I'm just so glad you're willing to talk about this. And secondly, sorry, just let me think for a second.
You don't need to apologize for thinking, brother. I want you to think.
Sorry, if you just please explain this. So why do you think it's justified, only emotionally, not like Quran, anything like that, right? For God to send evil men to hell and good men to heaven, instead of just, I don't know, ending the evil men.
Ending the evil men.
Destroying the souls or something. I don't know. I don't understand why the evil men should be tortured infinitely.
Let me use an emotional argument.
Okay.
As you grow older, yeah, and you get married and you have a child, you're a man, yeah? Last time I saw. I don't know nowadays, it's confusing. If you have a daughter, as a guy, as a man, your bond with your daughter is going to be unparalleled. If someone does anything to your daughter, yeah, and I know even as I'm saying this, the fathers are getting goosebumps. Yeah? Reason being the mere fact that I'm suggesting that somebody would do anything to their daughter. I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you. Killing them is not enough. You want them to feel pain. You want them to feel some degree of justice. Pain is like this. Sorry, death is just like this. It doesn't do the job. I'm telling you. If somebody has killed millions and millions of people and you just off them like this, emotionally, now this is an emotional argument that I'm making with you. Do you believe somebody who's killed millions of people as opposed to he just got killed like this, do you think that's fair? Emotionally.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking. I can't.
Don't apologize. If you want to think. I'd have an issue if you answered without thinking.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's true. No, I don't think it'd be fair.
Emotionally, right?
No.
Your mum, is she alive?
Yes.
Very good to hear. Now your mums can be very strict, especially during exam time, and sometimes they can evolve into something else, yeah? But that's not their essence, that's not their asal, that's not their true self. If someone was to do something to your mother, yeah, just slap them in front of you, would you just stand there, get the phone out, 999? Would you like the ambulance? Would you like the fire services? Would you like, and the guy's standing there like, he's getting locked and loaded for another slap, and you're like, 1 second. Police. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Police. Did you say Lord of the Rings? No, police. Do you see? So it wouldn't make any sense.
No.
What would be your emotional reaction in that time?
You find what you have in your hands and you whack it at his face.
Thank
You
you.
can't do what you gotta do.
That's what you do. Do you think that's fair, according to you?
For my mom or for the man?
For you?
For me, to have my mom slapped?
No, for you to slap the guy in retaliation.
In a way, yes, mostly, yes.
Do you think it's fair for your mum?
Yeah,
And do you think it's fair for the guy?
kind of, yeah.
There you go. Yeah? So here's the point over here. The law is different to the reality. Yeah, so similarly over here as well, many of the things that the law tells us, sometimes often a crime will be happening in front of you. You're required to call the police. You're not allowed to have a baseball bat in your car. You're not allowed to have knuckle dusters. You can't even have a certain blade. Nowadays, even though a lot of Londoners are armed, you don't have to respond, I know it's political. So I'm just telling you the law. You cannot have a blade, even pepper spray you can't have. Your hands are literally tied. It's not justice. Yeah, that's not justice. Now, bearing this in mind, if there is, I believe there's a creator of everything, who knows everything past, present and future, who's given us laws, that's why that's very integral to the conversation, because in order for us to even move forward, we have to accept that there is an intelligence, a being of sorts that has given us morality, because eventually we do have to get to the argument, even though you've had a lot of it. Because if there is a being that has given us morality, is that more superior or someone, or the morality explicated by an individual who is restricted by lobbyists, by his society, by the West? I'm talking about Keir Starmer, because he has got people that have paid him. He does have to pay his pound of flesh. There are people whose interests he has to look after. He has not lived anywhere other than the West for a long period of time, so he doesn't understand other cultures. So, do you believe somebody that has knowledge of all morality or somebody that is restricted would have more knowledge of morality and would be more fair?
I think I see the point you're getting at. And I would agree that if there is a creator or God, capital G God, then I would say that his morality is obviously more important than mine.
Absolutely.
I'll say two things.
Of course.
Firstly, if we have a difference in morality, if he believes, well, the gods, I suppose I can't say he because God believes in this, and I believe in this, there's still a difference, there's still a dissonance. And emotionally, that'll still push me away. Secondly, which I don't really understand, and I just came up with this right now. If God did give us morality, why would my morality be different from his? If he gave me his morality, does that make? It's like if I have a son, and I'm Muslim, and I give him my religion, we should have the same religion. Why does he have a different religion than me? Does that make sense?
According to what you're familiar with, your morality is only going to be based upon the area you're born and brought up in. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily different to that of God. It's just that your understanding is limited and your experience is limited. That's all it is. It's not that there's a difference. It means that there's ignorance. So the more you educate yourself, the more you understand more perspectives, the more you travel, the more books you read, the more people you interact with, the more your brain opens up and the more you start understanding more viewpoints. That's just with life. So it's not necessarily that, oh, I have a different point of view. It's how cultured are you? How informed are you? Yeah? What's your academic background? And that's what's going to inform how you're going, your understanding of these concepts. I'll give you an example. You mentioned the multiple wives, yeah? Now, if you understand that numerically speaking, statistically speaking, there are more women than men.
Only a slight amount, no?
No, significantly.
I thought it was like 1% more. I don't know.
No. It depends because different statistics, they change. Yeah, but if you look generally speaking in countries, even if you look into mating habits, you look into who's initiating divorces, you look at the age, for example, men, they are more likely to continue getting into relationships, marital relationships, the ages of like even 50 plus, whilst the women less so. We're looking statistically speaking. So my question now is, for those women that are not married, yeah, and the men that don't want them, what's the solution emotionally?
Turn lesbian.
But with
I didn't know. I think
that's you don't have to worry. Like that's an interesting solution that you've given. But when you look again, emotionally speaking, most of the domestic violence that takes place between homosexual relationships. Most of the adopted children that have issues later on in life. Again, these are statistics that I'm referring to, and people can check them. Yeah, there's no secret. Yeah, they happen. So if a person wants to have joy in their life, because you're talking about emotion, then for them to be emotionally in a better position, it would make sense for them to be in a heterosexual relationship, as opposed to say a lesbian relationship or a man and a man relationship. So what would be another practical solution that you'd give them? Because bear in mind also that heterosexuality is more innate than homosexuality. So what you're now doing is saying that, look, if you've gone past your sell-by date, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to, start. I don't want to say inappropriate words, but you're gonna have to try, go on the other side.
I see.
You see, just imagine speaking to your mum and, God forbid, or my mother. I don't want to offend you.
It's fine.
So if I speak to my mother and then, she hasn't got married and she wants male companionship, I say to Mum, time to be a lesbian. Now, if you're worried as an Asian guy with Asian parents that are very strict with exams, imagine if you start telling them that you have to be a lesbian now, Mum. Forget emotional argument. That's going to be the last argument.
That's true, sir.
You see?
Well, then I see. So I'm just. Then why do you think it's not right for women to have multiple husbands? Do you think it's not right for women to have multiple husbands? I assume you have to.
Yeah, I disagree with the fact that women would have multiple husbands. Reason being because, firstly, even emotionally, we know from the data that women are more bonded with their with the opposite genders than say men, even physiologically. Yeah, there's a term that skips my mind at this moment in time, but it's when a man ejaculates in a woman multiple times, even if she moves on to another man, his genetics are still carried on. Again, there's more peer-reviewed evidence being done on this, more work is being done on this, but again, it's a new field, a new science. On top of that, the first relationship of a woman, it's very difficult, statistically speaking, for them to move on from that. And of course, the answer that people give, that they'll be smashing the screen saying Zishan, give him the answer, is the fact that if a woman was to sleep with multiple men and she was to have a child, how would she know whose child it is?
DNA test.
Do you see? Now imagine each time you have a child, you have to run for a DNA test. And even DNA tests, they are not.
They cost money.
They're not 100%, right?
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
They do cost money. They do cost money.
Absolutely, that's a classic Asian answer. Absolutely, we have to look after the pennies. But do you see? So sometimes they'll say 65% the child is yours. And they always tell you that the test is not 100%. They make sure because they've been sued so many times. So it comes back to the financial aspect, yeah.
So, sir, I understand what you're saying, but this sounds quite silly now because it's not a logical argument. I can't. If it's a logical argument, none of us will sound silly because it's just facts and facts and facts, right? We build upon each other. But I feel like what you're saying is still quite logical, as in what you say does make sense logically. It does, because I'll be honest. I haven't looked into this that much. It's only a feeling thing that I thought I wouldn't look into because it's only a feeling thing. So I don't really know if the facts are true. But I'm going to assume, you seem very wise guy, I'm going to assume the facts are true. If the facts are true...
They call me Master Ugwe.
Well, assuming that your facts are true, I'm gonna say what you said logically does make sense. But when you look at it emotionally, at least I feel like if individual case, then I don't know. Suppose I go right now. I go to my school. I'm not part of school anymore. I go to the school. I find if I ask a survey, say for example, to ask the girls and the boys in the school to see if they're willing for a polyamorous relationship, or if the women and the men both think it's fine for the men to have multiple wives, or if the women only don't have one husband. And to be fair, we'll try something similar together.
You're giving me science. What you're referring to is deduction. You're collecting data, and from that data you're going to extrapolate, and then that's going to be a theory. So that's data, that's not emotion. Emotion is your feeling. You don't need to ask somebody else to validate your feeling, because your feeling is your feeling. If your feeling could have been informed by other people, then I can give you evidence based upon the majority. What do the majority of the people think? And even that, if I take your criteria, majority of the people in majority of the cultures, since we travel back, majority of them, the men have been in polygynous relationships as opposed to the women.
That's true.
So if that's the criteria you want to take, that let's go and survey the people, look into the cultures, then majority of the cultures, it's the men that are hopped up on testosterone. They're the ones that are more sexually active. They're the ones that with each session, sorry, how young are you? 10. Okay, I'll be careful. So when it comes to just my language, I'll be careful with my language. So when it comes to the genetic material that comes out of a man, it's everything indicates towards men being in multiple relationships than women. Men are more jealous than women. Men have more strength, and women are more emotional. Now these are all arguments that you're saying are based upon your kind of sensibilities, that how would I feel in a certain situation. Now if we were to look at your feeling, put you under a polygraph, or look at your kind of feelings and ask you, if I was your therapist and ask you how do you feel, you would not be okay with your woman having multiple males. It's just something that we wouldn't feel comfortable with. But with a woman, she feels more nurturing, and it's difficult for her to extrapolate that to multiple people. So whether it's logical, whether it's emotional, you see because technically speaking, you can't, using your worldview, understand women.
That's true.
Do you see? Because you're emotional based. Even if you ask a woman, that's logic, because you're collecting data. So if your thing is completely emotional, it's going to lead to absurdity, eventually speaking. I'm just kind of going with you out of respect for you.
I see.
Because most of the things, whatever you say, you're referring to logic. It's impossible for you to take out logic. For example,
I fully agree. It has to be both at the same time, all the time.
in fact, there are 3 laws of logic. Yeah, one is the law of non-contradiction. That means something can't be A and not A at the same time. Yeah. Now, if I say that's a tree, but it's also an elephant, that's emotionally wrong. It's logically wrong. It's philosophically wrong. In terms of testimony, it's wrong. Any criteria you want to take, it's going to be wrong. So emotional, I would argue your emotion will always be swayed by logic. If I tell you emotionally, for example, if I construct an elaborate experiment here where people claim everyone's running and there's fire and this and that, and you ask, why are people running? See, there's a dragon behind there. Doesn't matter how many people there are, it doesn't matter about the emotional side, your logical side will kick in. If somebody says, put your hand in that fire, everyone's doing it, it's okay. You're still going to be hesitant because there is a logical mechanism. The reflex action that you have, the innate reflex action that you have. If I go like this, you blinked. It was not a conscious thing. Your emotions didn't kick in. So there will definitely and always be a logical element to it. I absolutely agree with you that the emotional aspect cannot be divorced from it, and it will always act as a counterweight. But for you to accept something to be true, for you to be a reasonable person, for you to be successful in life, as a man, as a woman, as a successful person, you're always going to have to balance and give more preference to logic over emotion. Yeah, in most things. In other things, you can jump in if you want.
So I'm just, because this was exactly what me and my friend was talking about. So I'm very happy that we came to this. Because I disagree, and I don't see, I would prefer, I don't see why you would prefer logic over emotion. Why?
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Emotionally, you disagree with beating your son.
Yeah.
Yeah, but logically you know that if you're holding on to him, yeah, and you don't chastise him, you can see he's got those Sonic the Hedgehog legs. You let him go and and he's gonna run off, and he's gonna fall, and there's a chance of him dying or being seriously injured. In that situation, you have to put logic over rationality. Somebody comes to your home, your house gets set on fire, yeah? What do we always get told in school? Leave all your belongings behind, evacuate, you can get your belongings back. But what does emotion say? I've worked very hard. This is a £2,000 laptop. That's my mum's jewels. This is this individual. So you're going to give more preference, and in the end, you're going to sacrifice the most logical and rational thing, which is lives. Lives way more and are important more important than physical things. In a thing like that, you're going to think emotionally. Unanimously, we're told in a situation like that, think logically. In a job interview, they'll ask, so what do you want to do in life? I answered this very wrong. I started telling him about my deepest, darkest secret. I want to get married, I want to do this, I want to do that. I gave an emotional answer. Because of that, I didn't get the job. I then looked at the tutorials afterwards. I realized they mean in the profession.
I wish the best of us.
Yeah. So that was the emotional side that slapped me in the face. And now when I go, I always have my guard up. I have to be logical. If I'm taking my mom to the hospital, I can't let emotion cloud my judgment, because my body is gonna go into flight or fight mode. I'm not gonna be thinking rationally, and I'm gonna make silly decisions. And that's gonna cost my mom. Yeah, if I make an emotional decision, like, I want to, no, I do, then logically and rationally, I should spend my money. Logically, rationally, I should not go to work. Even if my boss is going to, shout at me, do this or do that. Logically, my mom is the most important thing. Why? Because she's given birth to me and all of this. Even emotionally, we're not connected. Even if emotionally you had an argument and you're not on speaking terms, you do not let your emotion take over. Rationality takes precedence over here. Wouldn't you agree?
I want to say two things. Firstly, I agree in what you say in all these scenarios. It would be better, in my opinion, to choose the more logical choice in all of these scenarios. However, first I want to point out that that'll be my opinion, and that's an emotional thing in itself. But I do agree. Secondly, I want to say, but I think equally, I can also find lots of scenarios where I think using emotion leads to what I believe leads to a better result than using logical thoughts.
I agreed with you from the beginning.
Oh, I see. Then I don't see your point.
That's why I said not in all situations and scenarios. Yeah? Now, what I'm saying is you're now predicating your entire belief in the hereafter, in the design of the things around you, in your morality, in a lot of things. You're putting that on one side and you're giving priority and precedence over your subjective emotion. That's what I'm saying.
But I think I'm not valuing my emotion above the logic.
You're not.
I think I'm valuing it equally. I think I have my emotional reasons.
Well, remember when I gave you the logical arguments, you said emotion in this gets more priority than logic.
I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but I think both has importance.
Okay, that's good then.
If I did say that wrong, I apologize.
No problem. That's why we took such a big detour.
I'm sorry. But I think they're equally as important. And I think in this case,
I agree with you,
I
by
was
the way.
more going to talk about the emotional aspect, because logical aspect I went through so many times, and there are logical reasons I don't believe in Islam either. And we could go into that, but I feel like that wouldn't be very valuable right now. Because it's something that we've all, like everyone here, they're making logical arguments. There's no one that comes up and say, well, they are, but they mean it logically. There's people who say, I think that in Islam only a man can have multiple wives, and that's wrong, which means Islam is wrong. There's people who say that.
That's illogical though, right?
Yeah, that's just a silly thing in itself.
Okay, let's explore this point that you've said, yeah? Let's use the criteria, the sole criteria of logic, yeah? And analyze the religions and their claim to God. Let's look, what would you say are the top 2 religions?
Probably Islam, Christianity.
Right, let's
followers.
analyze their logical concept of God. What would you say are the top 3 laws of logic? Like, i.e., logic is the 3 fundamental laws of logic.
Non-contradictory. Like, you know this.
Excluded middle and
He does know this. I just
Very good. All 3 of these laws, when you use them to scrutinize the God in Islam, it's in line. When you use all of these 3 laws to scrutinize the Christian Trinitarian God, it invalidates it. It voids it. So when you say they all follow logic, I don't know if you said they claim to follow logic or they follow logic. I would agree with you in the sense that everybody claims to follow logic. But I would say that upon scrutiny, just like with any claim, you scrutinize it, you will notice that Christianity fails, Hinduism fails, and polytheism fails, Zoroastrianism fails. Why? Because of this and these criteria of logic.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I did say so. Again, if I did, I apologize. I don't mean to say that other religions all follow logic. From what I know, which is only a very little, but still from what I know, Islam seems to be very logic-based anyway. What I mean to say is I have logical reasons to not believing in Islam. That's what I said, right?
You have?
I have logical reasons to not believe in Islam. That's what I
The
said.
theology of Islam or the moral aspects of Islam?
No, just a logical reason. I'll explain the reason, yeah? So what I think is, I've been here quite a few times. I've been to Christian guys, and it has been a long time, I'll be honest. But I remember having similar discussions with the Christian guys, but more only about the evidence was Christianity towards Islam. And unfortunately, I was silly. I didn't write it down. Here are some stuff down. But not all of it still, but some stuff down. Still, I remember back then, I thought that the Christians also had a very good logical argument. Not as in what you said about the Trinity, but more as in the evidence and, you know, for example, when we talk about Islam, there's the Quran and like the scientific.
Surely, when you're engaging with somebody, the first logical requirement is the concept of God. That's the beginning, right? Because that's who they're primarily asking you to accept. Like, that's the first step. So did you believe, or were you convinced that their concept of God followed the laws of logic?
I don't think let's just use Christianity example. I don't think the Christian God follows logic, the concept of logic, but I think that the fellow that I talked to gave me solid logical evidence towards the validity of Christianity. Does that make sense?
Christianity in terms of God or in terms of the teachings of Christianity?
The Bible being a...
But that's because they sidestepped Trinity. And it's like when you're coming to a football match, the most important thing is the football. If somebody starts telling you about the drinks machine, or someone starts telling you about the security staff, it's detracting from the point of the game, which is the football. Yeah. So similarly with religion, the center point of, debate or whatever it is God. Like, what do Hindus believe about God? What do Christians believe about God? And what do Muslims believe about God? That's the central tenet. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree. And upon this case, again, I appreciate the time you're giving me.
Of course.
But around Christianity, at least, I personally feel like the fact that the Christian God does not follow logic does not detract from its validity. And here's why. Because it's God. God can do whatever God wants. God made logic, like God made all things.
You said God can do, just say that.
Whatever God wants.
What do you mean by that?
God is all powerful.
He can do anything, yeah?
Yeah. So if God made logic, then it wouldn't be so absurd to believe that God could go against logic. Now, I'm not saying God would go against logic. I'm not saying God
That's
should.
where Islam and Muslims would be different.
Again, yeah, I agree.
Where we believe God wouldn't put an impossible task in front of humans, give us logic, reason, and faculties, and then go against it in his essence. That's unfair, because then it just doesn't make sense. Like you're saying, okay, believe in me. If you don't believe in me, there's going to be eternal damnation. Okay, what faculties do I have? Logic, reasoning, rationality. Okay,
And
but
emotions.
Emotions, but logic, rationality are objective. Emotions are subjective.
True.
So the only way to measure it is through logic and reasoning, which is something that everyone's given from birth. It's innate within us.
Do you mean measure validity?
Yeah, the validity of something, the truth of something.
I disagree, because if I have to measure the truth of something, I must think about it. If I have to measure if the microphone exists, I must think about it.
But you have to think and then measure it objectively. You can't claim something is true subjectively.
But I can't measure it completely objectively, because whatever thoughts I think, there's a logical aspect and there's an emotional aspect. I can't separate the both.
Let's just say emotionally, I think this is an elephant.
That's fair. What do I say to that?
That's a problem now. Because now if you think that this is an elephant,
Okay.
then how do you go about living your life in a sensible way?
I don't believe this is an elephant.
No, what I'm saying is that
sorry.
if I go around saying, you know what, this is an elephant,
Okay.
that's my subjective feeling. There has to be a degree of rationality and logic for you to live a sensible life. Yeah? For you to believe in God, there has to be an element.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
in God's essence, there has to be rationality. We don't believe God goes against logic and rationality in his essence. Now, what you're saying, it's interesting, because Christians also say God can do everything.
But
Yeah?
God can.
Right. Can God cease to exist?
Probably.
So then there's no God.
At least I think in the Christian God.
Think
could.
about what you're saying.
Okay.
Would you say that Christians believe God cannot exist?
I'm not Christian, I don't know, but I think so. I think so.
Right. So now listen to what you're saying.
Okay.
So there's this belief that we are all reliant upon God, but God doesn't exist.
But God's God. God can make it however he wants.
No, but you said in this scenario, God doesn't exist.
I did, and that's contradictory.
Fantastic.
But there's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with that logically, but God made logic.
Fantastic. So now here's the thing. If you're saying that God can now invalidate and void logic, then how can we give priority and precedence to what we're preaching as opposed to something else? Do you believe you're a human being?
I do.
But then surely if God's made everything and he's voiding logic, maybe you're an elephant.
Maybe I am. If God decides right now that I'm an elephant, then it's God.
Maybe you don't exist.
Sorry, sir. Do you think if God comes right now and I still exist, I still look like how I am now, I still talk like how nothing about me changed, but he defines me as an elephant, do you think I'll become an elephant?
There's a difference between defining and there's a difference between being. When you say God coming down, that's not our definition
Sorry,
of God.
the idea is if God's, I think, at least according to Christians, if God thinks I'm an elephant, if God says, let this man be an elephant, I'll be an elephant.
Deep this now. Muslims don't make this claim. Just
That's
deep
true.
whatever you said in the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
And just deep the fact that you're saying God cannot exist. This can be an elephant. I could be a toilet brush. All of these things. You're saying Christianity logically it's within the framework of Christianity. We're saying in the framework, the logical framework of Islam, we're not going to call you an elephant. We're not going to say God can cease to exist or God can become a cat. We're not saying this. We're saying God is God in his essence. It is logically reasonable, it is rationally reasonable, and that does not change.
Okay.
What do you think rationally makes more sense to you? That God is an agent of confusion, or God is an agent of assistance, of help, of rationality, of love?
Sorry, do you mean emotionally which one do I feel is more valid to me?
Either or.
There's a difference.
Tell me both.
Because if it's rational, then if you ask me which one makes more sense rationally, the rational God will make more sense rationally. The rational God is rational. Emotionally, I don't think the Christians believe that their God is a method of chaos. I think the Christians believe that, and again, I'm not Christian, there's many Christians here, we can go and ask, but I think the Christians believe that their God is contradictory because God can do whatever God wants, and God can be
Just
contradictory.
listen to what you've said.
Okay.
They believe their God is a contradiction.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure.
And the faculties God has given to us to understand absolutely everything around us is logic.
That's why I disagree. I think it's logic and emotion.
It's primarily logic coupled with emotion. For example, to get anything substantial done, to believe something to be true, you simply cannot rely upon emotion.
But you need both. If I were to believe that a tree exists, there's a logical evidence of me seeing a tree, its leaves, and the definition that everyone around me defines this thing as a tree, but there's still the emotional aspect that I have to take the leap of faith. I would take the leap of saying, I see these evidence.
Is that leap of faith based upon logic or emotion?
Emotion, I think at least, because the tree
That's
could
logic.
be a hologram.
What you're doing is you're using induction. You're using the data that's around you. You're taking the testimony of what's around you. You're taking what people are saying around you. That's all data. That's all inputs.
But that's the first part. That's about the tree being green. That's about the tree looking like a tree. But the leap is
Believing that it's a tree.
it's the believing in the tree. That's emotional because there's no reason for me to believe in it. I could say it is possible, as you have said yourself, sir, that a tree is a hologram. The tree is an alien that's saying that. Is that technically possible? It's technically possible. I had to take the leap of faith.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with the fact that everything requires a leap of faith. But fundamentally speaking, for us to get science done, history done, geography done, none of the fields that are taken seriously on this planet, academically speaking, none of them rely more on emotion than logic.
And
Would
I
you
fully
agree?
agree. I fully agree. But the thing is, about human bonding, about starting family, about getting friendship, about simply just wanting to come out here because there's a sun out here. If I'm inside, I'll be miserable. That's emotional. And if I don't have those things are also very
Would you
crucial to me.
say, can you say for certain that it's emotional and not logical? Or would you then capitulate to
I would say it's
having
always
to be
both.
both?
Always both.
There you go. So let's keep that as a default answer then.
Will do.
Yeah? So bearing that in mind, let's just say it's 50-50.
Okay.
So like you admitted, in everything that's taken seriously on this planet, whether it's politics, whether it's science, whether it's history, it requires more logic than emotion, correct?
Sorry, let me think.
Okay, well, yeah. Now, all I was saying, you said no.
But on this argument, if we're saying that every thought is both logical and emotional, then wouldn't it not be? Because everything that's taken seriously, anything, let's say history, you have to think about it. It has to use your mind to process it. There's equal amounts of logical and emotional.
But there's a framework. Once you've articulated your theory with regards to a certain historical concept, the only way for it to be taken seriously
It's logical. Because
logic.
we need logic to communicate with each other.
logic, and there has to be a process in place. Anyone can make a claim, absolutely. Someone can say, oh, there's a giant frog in, the dark side of the moon. That's a claim. But then that claim can be documented, but again, it has to be evidence for it to be taken seriously. It has to go through certain logical and certain scientific criteria.
What I think is the reason that is the case, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, because humans, we're weak individually, but together we can do great things. And to communicate with each other, to discuss ideas and see which one is right, I cannot tell you emotionally. It's like the McDonald's example I started from the very beginning. If I simply say I think McDonald's is better, and you think KFC is better, there's no actually objective decision as to whether we should build more McDonald's or KFC. So we have to use logical arguments. That's why most methods of science or philosophy or history, literature even, goes by a framework of logic. Because only using logic can we communicate with each other. So that I agree with. But if I'm making a personal decision for something like religion, which I believe is a personal decision, I think in that case it's perfectly reasonable for me to use emotions. And that's why also I was hesitant in the beginning to have an emotional conversation with you, because I'm afraid that there wouldn't be a conversation.
Yeah. Even though we did go in that trajectory for a short while, yeah.
Yeah, which is what I'm afraid of.
So when it comes to contradictions, when it comes to stuff like this now, emotionally speaking, what popular contradiction do you believe that people believe en masse?
Christianity is a perfect example.
Not in terms of theology, something physical.
A contradiction?
Because that is based upon belief and emotion, like you said. Clearly not logic. So let's deal with something that's logical and physical based.
You mean like 1 + 1 = 2, for example?
But even that is not physical.
Sorry, sir, I generally can't think of one, but I feel like you would.
That's because no, that's because I'm trying to prove the point that there is no contradiction. That's my point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't go about our lives believing in contradictions. If someone gives contradictions, they're going to be fired from work. They're not going to be required as a good parent. They're not going to be required as a good leader. Contradictions are how politicians lose their seats. If they've said one thing, then they're saying another thing. It's a contradiction that gets brought up, and then they get in trouble for that. You can't say one thing and then, say another thing and then claim to move forward. Okay, I'm going to be the president of America, but I'm not going to be the president of America. That doesn't solve anything. You see, you can't go about your life believing that. Your son says, "Can I have ice cream?" Yes, you can have ice cream. Yes. No, you can't have ice cream. Yes, you can have ice cream. No, you can't have ice cream. You can't live your life like this. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, you can't live with contradictions. Now, for you to now bring an invisible being, because let's face it, that's how God is. God is an invisible being.
Yes.
And now you have to evidence God as this invisible being. The only true objective faculty that we can bring to the table is logic, that we can accept objectively and have sound conversations and debates. If someone brings emotion, say, "I've been touched by the Holy Spirit." Where? Is this a cry for help? Is it No,
I
okay.
understand.
You see?
No, but I'm saying exactly. If I come to you today and I say, I believe in Christianity because I've been touched by the Holy Spirit, haven't seen the Holy Spirit, haven't touched physically.
Yeah, I don't know if you're telling me the truth.
I feel the Holy Spirit.
Absolutely.
I could be saying the truth. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
lying,
know.
but it doesn't matter. The matter is
Yeah.
that we cannot have a discussion because we're not talking about it logically. That's what I mean. That I feel like because my friend here, he's been trying to discuss this logically. That's what I've been saying, that I don't think there's any point discussing it logically. Because I feel like if we're trying to discuss
No,
it...
you don't say this now. There is a 50% chance of discussing it logically
No.
and a 50% emotionally.
No, there is a point
Yes.
of thinking through it logically. Because you have to. It's the only way you can think through things. But I think it's wrong to always discuss emotion because you can't. And this subject, I think, is not wrong. It's an interesting discussion. But at least in my perspective right now, there's not much of a point of discussing it logically. Because I've seen logical arguments.
No, because when you're saying thinking, everything that you say from your mouth has been thought. It's gone through your brain.
Sure.
So for you to say something has escaped to the brain and come via my heart, that doesn't make sense. And if you're a Christian, you can believe in a contradiction. You can believe in things that just happen, yeah? Maybe the Holy Spirit did that. But for us to have a reasonable conversation, everything has to go through your mind. For example, I'm a Pakistani, yeah? And there's a racist slur, the P word. Now you could be thinking emotionally, I want to say the P word. Like sometimes, inside you're like, I just want to say it.
It's a tall building, you want to jump off.
Yeah, you're like, I just want to say it. Like it doesn't make logical sense, but I feel like being a bad boy. I just want to say the P word. I just want to say it and I want to see what it's going to do. I want to walk away. I just want to see. But that's the thing. It's still logically, even if you say it emotionally, it's still gone through your brain.
I agree. It's still logical in a way.
Absolutely.
It's still part of it, it's still logical. But
So what I'm saying is for you to predicate your whole faith on this being, and for the being then say, you know what, I'm changing the rules as I go along, that's not fair. And for you to then claim he's all just, that's not fair now, there's contradiction.
Sorry, sir. I think what you're saying is you feel like that's not fair.
No, it's objectively not fair.
It's
Why?
logically
Because
not
human beings have not accepted any concept, moral concept that's based upon a contradiction. You can give me an example to prove me wrong.
But fairness is a feeling. I feel like this is fair. I feel like it's not fair. If a man slapped my mom in the face, I'll feel like it's unfair. It's a feeling.
But
Doesn't
you
mean
can
it is unfair.
numerically evidence that through votes. Like you said, I can go and I can do statistics. I can ask people and then say who voted for what. You can do a poll.
Do that.
You see? So it's not purely emotion. It's 50-50.
I believe it's more, but.
Well, I do, but I don't want
But,
to, because it took us like 20 minutes to get past the
Sorry,
hurdle.
so you're saying, yes, obviously, if you're going
I'm saying the fundamentals of life. And when a child is born, that child has very little understanding of what the implication of the emotions. Yes, there is an emotional aspect to that child, but the blank slate of the child, the default system, when the computer reboots in safe mode, the basic programs that have been installed are survival, logic, rationality. You put that child's head underwater, his body is randomly going to start flailing about because the body has been designed for survival. You try to put the child's hand in the fire, immediately the way the body's been designed, there will be a reflex. Why? Because logic takes precedence over rationality. For you to survive, merely rationality is not enough. And I'm saying that if we now extrapolate this to something more fundamental and more important like God, which is the fundamental thing, the fabric of everything, I would argue that there has to be an objective way that for us to measure that. Otherwise, to get everybody to agree on something subjective is just ridiculous. It's never going to happen.
But why do we need everyone to agree? It's a personal choice for religion.
Because truth is not subjective. Absolute truth is objective. 1 + 1 is 2. Somebody can come and say 3, and someone could say, a cookie and a cucumber, but 1 + 1 is 2. Someone can have that opinion, but using evidence, using mathematics and this and that, that's what we're going to use objectively. And if God is telling us there's paradise, there is the hellfire, there is a way of living life, the world is a test. Similarly, in a test, there is a right answer, there is a wrong answer. Yeah, you pass the test or you fail the test. There is no contradiction in that. When you're born, there is no contradiction in that. When you're speaking, there is no contradiction. You're speaking, you're communicating. There's no contradiction anywhere. But when it comes to the fundamental, the essence of life, or the essence of God, or somehow that's supposed to be. But once you start believing in contradictions, then that thing, you can't define it to be God. For example, for you to be defined as a human being, okay. I can't bring an emotion to that. Sorry. There are certain things and criteria for you to be taxonomically, for you to be classified as a Homo sapien.
Sorry, I thought we just went through this, because to say, sir, you think I'm a human being, yes? Well, in that case...
No, here I'm using the taxonomical term Homo sapien.
Okay, you think I'm a Homo sapien?
Yes.
Well, in that case, that's not a fully logical deduction. You cannot use only logic to deduct that I'm a Homo sapien. You can take my DNA and say, you compare this, and this looks quite similar, I suppose, but there's no... You see what I mean?
Would you say science is an offshoot of logic or emotion?
Both, but is logic both?
No, science is, it's empiricism. The science that we have today is empiricism.
Science is a framework. Because science is about communication. That's never mind. Take that back.
Yeah, if you study the philosophy of science, it simply does not accept things that are supernatural. That's the bedrock of science.
This is something logical based.
Yeah, science relies on logic. Yeah,
So does
and it relies on mathematics, but it can't prove mathematics.
Would you not agree? So, but I think science as a discussion, as a method of framework. If I have a scientific idea, I want to discuss it to you guys. I have to tell it to you guys logically, yes? But still,
for something to be regarded as science, it has to go through the scientific framework. For something to be posited, agreed. Opinions, conjecture, anything can be put forward, but that's not science. It's outside the door of science, waiting to be allowed to come in.
Sorry, so then you agree in saying that all thoughts have logical and emotional components. Do you agree with that?
All thoughts, yeah, sure.
Okay, well in that case, if I were to do science, I must think about science. So there must be an emotional aspect to that, because it's thinking about it is thoughts.
The emotional aspect of science will always be there. However, when it comes to the evidence and when it comes to the bedrock of science, emotion is not taken as a criteria. It's taken as a plus one, as a wingman, as a sideman. It's not taken as a criteria for evidence. It's taken as a
criteria.
it's taken as an unintended consequence.
Well then I agree with you. The whole scientific method is just a method that uses logic to discover truth, which I agree.
So coming back to my original point, which was the fact that in essence, there are certain things that define you as a Homo sapien. Yeah? That criteria does not change. Would you agree?
Yeah, sure, I agree.
Because if that criteria changes, you are no longer a human being by definition. Similarly with God, there is an essence of God, i.e. God has to be the all-powerful, the all-knowing, the independent, nothing like it, etc. Yeah, there have to be certain things that are essential components or essential points with regards to God. Otherwise, that thing ceases to be God, the essence of God. Would you agree? So here's what I'm saying. The essence of God is independence, right? But Christians agree, but they say the Father is unbegotten. But they say the Son is begotten. And the Holy Spirit spirates from the Father and the Son. So that's a contradiction. If Jesus is God, then Jesus should not be dependent upon the Father. It's a contradiction. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, but doesn't that only means that it's very hard for me to preach Christianity logically, because it's not a logic framework religion.
No, what I'm saying is that the essence of God in Christianity is illogical.
It is.
They cannot define God and they cannot prove God logically. They have to rely on illogical principles.
And what's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with that is purely subjective. Anyone can come along and make up their own version of Christianity, their own version of God, and to predicate one's entire afterlife on it, it's unfair. Anyone can make up anything.
There is no religion on the planet that can prove God logically.
Islam can.
No, it can't.
We can speak afterwards.
But aren't you saying you feel that it's unfair? Because
No, I've just proved, we just discussed that there are three fundamental laws of logic, and one of that law of logic is non-contradiction. The other one is the law of identity.
so you said Christianity is logical, which I agree with from the very start. At least, not
illogical.
very start. Illogical. Sorry. And I agree with from almost the very start. It is illogical. And you're saying because of that, it is hard to communicate with other people.
What I'm saying is that
why is it more less?
What I'm
violent?
saying is that certain things can be perceived to be illogical, but when the essence of God violates the fundamental laws of logic, people cannot follow that religion because it is subject to change and people's desires.
And what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that is that it's no longer an objective truth. It's a subjective truth, which is a human creation rather than a divine presentation.
I'm trying to find objective truth.
So we're talking about objective truth, not something that is subjective and emotionally based.
I think I need to think about this, sir.
Of course. So when it comes to the essence, coming back to my original point, when it comes to the absolute essence and definition of God, Muslims and Islam is consistent. We believe that in terms of God's essence, oneness, independence, not begetting or being begotten, and none like it. Yeah, being powerful, being all knowledgeable, and the likes. That's what we say is the definition of God. Now, when you believe that, oh, the essence of God, it has to be independent, but then again, Jesus came and he was dependent. A human being by definition is dependent. Or let me give you the law of identity. The Father is God. The Son is God. Therefore, according to the law of identity, the Father should equal the Son. Right? But that's a heresy in Christianity. It's modalism. They can't say that. So it's voiding a fundamental law of logic, which is the law of identity.
Sorry, so let me just reiterate just what you said to make sure we're on the same page.
Of course.
You're saying that because we're trying to find objective truth, which is what religion is doing, find objective truth, which is objective, and thus if we're looking at something that's obviously illogical and not objective, that cannot be true.
What I'm saying is that if you're looking for objective truth, it cannot void the fundamental laws of logic.
That's true.
Otherwise,
You're saying emotion does that.
yeah, so then bringing into the other aspect, like you'll get Christians coming in and saying, oh yeah, but we just believe in God, or no, they're brainwashing you. That's emotional argument. Now, someone can claim that I'm brainwashing them, but how can you evidence that? There has to be a degree of proof, otherwise that pastor's going to go around saying everyone's brainwashing, and unless you check their claims, you can't live life like that.
There's nothing wrong with emotional arguments except for in this context, because we're looking for objective truth.
Yeah, because God is an objective truth. It's not a subjective truth. You liking McDonald's is a subjective truth. Good on you. Have it. I'm boycotting McDonald's. Even though I used to like fish or fillet once upon a time, now I boycott them because of the whole Israel-Palestine thing. So that again, for me, that's a subjective thing. I can't force it upon you. That's like it's a principle that I've adopted, a moral principle that I've adopted. You might have other moral principles, but when we're talking about truth, then the criteria needs to be different, and we have to be more objective, because that's something that, like you said, it influences a lot of things. Eternal damnation is at play here.
That's true. I'm sorry, so I'm just I feel like I'm a bit tired. Lots of information.
Don't
It's fine if I
apologize.
think about it and come back with another day.
You can think about it. You can even revisit some points to me. You can ask me to go over certain points. I'm flexible, brother. I'm not here to, get quick things. I want you to deep things. I want you to think about. Last time we did have a long conversation, but I want to give you things to think about, to ruminate on, and then even come back and challenge again. That's why I'm here, because I believe in objective truth.
Fair enough.
And I believe I can prove it objectively with evidence. I can even prove emotionally, like 20-25 minutes of our discussion was emotional as well.
That's true.
Whatever criteria you want to bring, I'm telling you, Islam is head and shoulders above all of them. There might be certain ways that your upbringing and the culture and certain literature that you're unaware of. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, if we go to the nuts and bolts of it, Islam is head and shoulders above the rest, and something that comes from God has to be like that compared to the others for it to be the truth. 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is a banana. 1 + 1 is a toilet brush. I'm sorry, there's one truth there. I can be respectful to the other truths and have a discussion and debate, but ultimately for me to disprove them, I have to use logic and rationality. If I start saying, no, we accept, things that are illogical things, we're not going to get anywhere. Because then the guy can prove to me banana. It's ridiculous. Like, life becomes an absurdity. And we don't use that when it comes to anything else. We don't void the law of non-contradiction in anything else. We don't void the law of identity in anything else. But yet, when it comes to Christianity, special pleading. What about Islam? No. Then how can somebody put Islam and Christianity in the same boat? They're simply not in the same boat. Christianity believes in a multiplicity of gods. Yeah, for example, they believe Jesus is God. Yeah, they believe Jesus is divine. They believe Jesus is a person. They believe Holy Holy Spirit is a person, is fully God and is divine. They believe the Father is a person, is fully God and is a person. How many did we count here?
Sorry, before I forget. So exactly.
You can jump in, brother. It's
Why
your
does
conversation.
Free Palestine.
Why does
Free
objective
Palestine.
sorry.
From evil
Why is
Islam
objective truth
and wicked
have to be
Hamas.
logical?
Free Palestine.
Because
Free
the
Palestine.
one criteria for you
From
to
evil
measure
Islam
it
and wicked
is
Hamas.
objective.
Free Palestine.
Logic itself
Free
is objective.
Palestine.
It can
From
be,
evil
it can
Islam
be.
and wicked Hamas.
There are, for example, there are logical trees. The method of logic is objective in its foundation. Whilst you liking something, it's completely subjective based on its fundamental principles.
I'll think about it, sir. Thank you.
Because think about it,
I will need to think about it a lot more.
something like the law of non-contradiction, it's not going to be one way for me and another way for you. It's going to be the same for everyone. You see, liking McDonald's is going to be different for everybody. That's a very simple way of putting it. And there are certain things that we use when coming up with, when it comes to laws, there's the Houses of Parliament, the House of Lords, there's a vote done. Yeah? There's a concept of voting. You don't just say, the Prime Minister doesn't say, I feel like doing this today. Or as a father, you're not going to say, I feel like doing this today. There's a certain responsibility, and that responsibility is based upon logic. For example, if your son asks you something today, your son asks you, are we, Dad, and he's crying, and he's a 7-year-old kid, Dad, this guy came to me and said, I don't even exist. Do I exist? What are you going to tell him, bro?
He exists, yeah.
But is that what you believe?
Probably.
But then again, if we flesh this out, you'd probably say, I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. You see? So that's why I'm saying there's a certain degree of logic we follow in every capacity of life. But when it comes to everything, we hold on to logic. But here's the thing, when it comes to religion, people start pleading the fifth. Or plead the fifth. Or people start behaving like ignorant chimps.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah. People start behaving like ignorant chimps. Yeah? Not my words, the word of Darwin. Yeah? So one guy you'd say, oh, is this, am I a human being and a chocolate biscuit? No, don't be silly. Are you crazy? Do you want some medication? Shall I take you to the doctor? Yeah, so God can exist and not exist at the same time. Do you see? Like suddenly, the guy's so open-minded that his brain's fallen out.